All right, now we're going to do some shingling. We're going to need our cabin itself, which is looking pretty swift at this part. And I'm going to start actually with a little outhouse because it's a little easier. Okay, with your shingle sheet, which looks something like this, yours might not look exactly like that. The easiest thing to do is to just, with a large pair of scissors, just cut. Can you see what I'm doing here? Just cut loose a strip of shingles, okay? Now you'll see that there are three kinds of sheets here. There is this piece, which is actually the roof cap, and we're going to fold that in half. Sometimes not easy to fold sandpaper, which is what these shingles are cut out of, but that's going to be our roof cap eventually, like that. And it's a little tiny bit too long, so now's a good time to just trim it. Okay, now the next pieces you're going to need are these plain pieces. A mistake that people often make when they're shingling is that they will start by just applying the first piece of shingle like that. Now that causes a problem because you can see the raw wood through the little slots, firstly. Secondly, it ends up on a different angle than the other shingle sets. Now you wouldn't think that was a big deal in quarter scale, but actually it's noticeable. So to prevent that, we are going to put one strip of the sandpaper just along the edge of the roof line, like that, to provide a base for the first layer of shingles. The shingles are alternating. If you look at your sheet, some start with a half shingle, some start with a full shingle. You're going to start, it doesn't matter which one you start with, you will apply them. I will do the first couple here. So we'll need some glue, lots of tacky glue to do this process. Okay, put that back in there. Okay, so we're going to start by spreading a good layer of glue across the bottom of your roof line. Okay. Now we'll take one of these small shingle strips and just run it right along across the bottom, like so. Your next layer of shingles goes immediately on top and reaches right down to the bottom of the roof. And of course the first layer is just being a bit awkward. Keep tucking that up and making sure that it's along the bottom of the roof, like so. Okay. Now, you're going to find that this doesn't really want to stick very badly. So, what I have done in the past is get some small clamps. Just remember that's the wrong kind of clamps. This is the best kind of clamps to use for this. And that's the little copper clamps. Okay, so we're just going to, there's just enough roof overhang to allow us to hold it down. Okay, there's our first layer. Now, as I said, you're going to alternate that's a half, starts with a half. This starts with a whole one. Okay, that's a whole one. A half one. Another half one. Okay, now before this glue dries up completely, let's get started doing our you can put some of your glue on top of the other set of shingles. It doesn't really matter. Okay, now we're going to take a half layer and you overlap them by half the layer of half the size of the shingle. Okay. Making sure that they're lining up to the roof. Okay, and we'll clamp that one in place. And we'll clamp this end in place, like that. So there's our first 2 layers of shingles. Now again, this time I'm putting quite a lot of glue on here because I'm going to do this fairly quickly, and I'm just going to do 1 or 2 more to show you, and then I will shut off the video machine, and you can I'll come back when I've got them pretty well finished. So overlapping by half, and keeping them parallel. Okay, and then starting with a half one, and we continue on up the roof. So we got our first 4 rows of shingles on, and I will come back when I've got the roof done. Okay, so that puts all the shingles on the roof. I'll just take our clamps off. Now, unless you're a lot more compulsive than I am, there is some raggediness of the shingles at the edges. I kind of like a little bit of raggediness, but it's up to you how much you trim off and clean it up, and whether or not you had professional shinglers do your cabin, or whether you did it yourself, or just how you did it. So I'm going to leave mine a little raggedy, I think. Ah, come on. There. Now, the roof cap. We're going to glue this on top like that. And we're going to put the glue on the roof cap, not on the shingles. This way you don't end up with a bunch of extra glue hanging around. You know, I should have possibly mentioned, if you really want this to look old and decrepit, as you're applying the shingle strips, you can take a pair of scissors and just clip off the odd corner of a tile. Okay, so, and there's our roof cap. And clips on there to hold it in place while the glue is drying. And it just occurs to me I didn't get that exactly even, the fold. So rather than try and refold it, what I'm going to do is just trim it down like that so it lies evenly. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Like that. Okay. Now, while we're fooling around with the outhouse, I'm going to glue my door in place, since the next place the outhouse is going is back on the base. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue along this edge here, with most of the glue. As you can see, I've got quite a ridge of glue there, and it's behind the door. Pardon me, it's along the, not behind the door, it's along the edge of the door. Okay, like that. Now I'm going to insert my door. Oh, I should have put a little tiny bit of glue on the top and bottom of the door. Okay, now I can put it in place. Clean up the excess glue. And of course, by leaving it open, I'm breaking one of the outhouse rules, which says close the door so the varmints don't get in. But actually, I don't care if the varmints get in. Okay. So that's our outhouse pretty well finished. I'll let the door a little bit more open than that. Okay, there we go. That can be now set on one side to let everything dry while I proceed to the main cabin. Now the main cabin is done in the identical fashion to the outhouse, just bigger. Okay, let's start out with our roof cap here. It is going to fold over actually folding sandpaper is not the easiest thing to do. And rather than it run into the problem we did with the outhouse where it wasn't even, I think what I'm going to do is fold the roof cap like that. Okay, and that's where it's going to sit, is on the top of the cabin like that. So we can set that on one side. And let's cut ourselves some strips of shingles. And we need that starter strip as well. So, oops, where'd it go? Well, when in doubt, find the other one. Okay, so let's start by applying some glue to the roof of our cabin. Okay. There we go. And there is our first shingle strip applied to the roof of the cabin. Now, in this case, I'm just going to add a couple more clips just to hold it down here. I don't really care if the other ones start to lift a bit, but I really don't want this front edge to lift. Okay, so just like the other one, I'm going to proceed to shingle this, and I'll restart the video when I'm at the point of the roof cap and starting down the sides.